Welcome back to the Coaches Show. I am Ryan Osborne, right here on 90.1 KBPK. You know, here at the Coaches Show, yeah, we've got Scherbeck Field directly behind me, but, you know, the Coaches Show just isn't about football. It's about all the other coaches that we have the ability to talk to with big-time pedigrees, not only here at Fullerton College, but across the community college level as well. You know, just the other day, me and Ray were thinking about what other championship pedigrees, legacies are there here on campus at Fullerton College that we can go and talk to? And we came up with, well, not one, but two different programs here on campus who have that success in recent years. We start things off with water polo and Coach Gabriel Martinez. 2 championships in the last 8 years, 2014 and 2019, both of which were undefeated marches up to the national championship for Coach Martinez and his program. But without me getting too further into that, how about I just send it over to Ray, as he's got Coach Martinez out at the Aquatic Center. Ray?
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate the throwback here. We're poolside with Coach Martinez, the women's water polo team. Really excited to get this season going this year. Coach, no season last year. The year before, you guys ran through 32-3. Who was the biggest opponent that you had last year that you had to go through to that state championship?
Well, we had one loss within the 2-year schools. We played Riverside at the beginning of the season, and we at Riverside, and we took a loss. Other than that, we played Riverside 5 more times after that, and we dominated them. I think that, and that 2019 season, our biggest competitor was ourselves. If we could just play our game and do what we needed to do, there was nobody that was going to beat us that year.
One of the losses on that 32-3 record from the state championship from 2019 was the Philippine national team.
Yeah.
And we talked about that a little bit, about you consider that on your schedule, and if you lose, it's a loss,
Yes.
even though that is a higher echelon team than a community college. Why is that?
Well, within our schedule, we are only allowed 18 play dates. So we had to fit in that Filipino game on top of one of our conference games, so it wouldn't be considered a play date. Because it's on our schedule, it's actually considered a competition. We also played Pomona College, which is a 4-year school that year. We played Laverne, which is a 4-year school, and we also played Azusa Pacific, which is a 4-year school. And we intend on doing that this year as well. We have 4 games with 4-year schools this year, because I think that the competition at 2-year level is good, but we want to challenge ourselves. And not only that, show those 4-year schools that our girls can play at that 4-year school easy.
Ready to run this back, get another championship run, state run this year for you guys. I'm going to take that in just a second. We're going to stop. I'm going to edit that out. Sorry.
Okay.
Coach, talk to me a little bit about the eligibility. With no year playing last year, even though you got a full season in before COVID really took over sports, did your players lose a year of eligibility at all, and how does that affect your team this year?
So in 2019, we were able to finish off our season, play in the state championship game, win the state championship game. So that was considered an eligibility year, or a year of eligibility. In 2020, the state of California said that 2-year schools were not allowed to compete. They tried to push our season to the spring, but it still didn't. The spring of 2021, but it's still we weren't still able to fit any kind of games in. So that is not considered a player for us. That's not even considered a redshirt year for us. So our girls in our team will have that 2019 competition. The 2020, it's like it never existed, and they still have their red shirts plus 2 more years at the 4-year. So it was good for us.
Does that give them more of an experience now coming in? You don't lose that year of eligibility. We've got players here now that have been with you, have been with this program for a while, have won a championship for you. Does that give you a little bit of an edge, having those players with more experience?
Well, in the 2020, we were not able to practice water polo. We weren't allowed to have contact. We had to have spacing between the athletes. So we never got a chance to play water polo most of 2020. So it didn't help us. Actually, it got us a little bit rusty. So we're trying to come in this year with the help of the summer of really get going into our fall season.
Looked at the schedule beforehand. We see that you mentioned Riverside, September 15th. just around the corner,
Yeah.
Riverside,
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Is that a measuring stick for you and this squad early on to figure out where you're going to go?
I think that there's certain schools that we've been looking at that we think are going to be our competition, and that is one of them. That's September 15th game. It's just another training game for us. We're not making it a big deal. If we win it, cool. If we don't, that's okay, because our end game is in November, and that's what we want to get ready for.
On this season last year, we mentioned 3 losses. In all 3 losses, you guys didn't score 10 goals. Anytime you're over 10 goals, it's a win. Talk to me about that a little bit. Against some of these other teams, we mentioned the Philippine national team. APU was another one, a 4-year university. You didn't score those. How important is it now for you guys to get going offensively right away?
Well, I think that our team, if you look at the incoming freshmen that came in and the sophomores that are playing, we are not going to have a problem scoring goals. Our goal is to keep all our opponents 4 goals or less. If we keep all our opponents 4 goals or less, we win every single game, because they're not going to stop us from scoring. I'm confident about that.
Coach, thanks very much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
All right, we're poolside with Tarsus Ledesma, one of the utility players here for the women's water polo team at Fullerton College. Tarsus, tell me a little bit about utility and your position. What are you doing in the pool to help your team?
So pretty much everything. I got to be an attacker, the good defender. I also defend set. So, yeah, get some blocks in.
Scoring goals, big time.
Scoring goals.
When you look at the 2018 team that you're on, runner-up, how much of that team do you see in this year's team as you get back to playing full-time?
I think this year's team is very well rounded. I think we're stronger than we were in 2018. I think we're going to have a good season with this team.
Tarsus, tell me a little bit about your teammates. Who do you see stand out? You got a lot of sophomores. Coach mentioned scoring goals is not going to be a problem on this team. Tell me some of the other support roles that you guys have on this team.
I believe the whole team is my strong support, because we all play very individually as well, and we all have very strong individualities, yeah. One of them is Adriana. I think she's a great player. She helps us a lot in defense and offense. She can score goals from anywhere. We have Emily, too. She's a great defender, too, and great scorer, yeah.
Utility. So you're blocking shots, you're scoring goals, you're doing a little bit of everything. Explain to us a little bit about where you are in the pool at any given time in the game, and what are some of the different swimming abilities you have to have specifically for your spot?
I have to be really quick with my arms and my legs. Pretty much it. Got to be quick.
Awesome. Tarsus Ledesma, the utility player, women's water polo team. Thank you very much for being with us. All right, we're here poolside with Charlie Jackson, another utility player here for the women's water polo team here at Fullerton College. Charlie, you were on the team not last year, 2 years ago, 2019, where you won the state championship. You had a whole year off. What is it like right now to come back? Is there that excitement level for you? And what is it physically for you to get ready for this year?
I mean, I'm definitely excited, but it is challenging to come back after an entire year off. Polo is really relying on swimming, so it's been a lot of swimming and conditioning. But yeah, I think we're all excited to be back and ready to win.
We mentioned, Tarsus told us about you also play utility, so you're shooting, you're blocking shots, you're playing defense, you're kind of in the middle of the pool there. You mentioned to me right before we came on camera, you can get your hand on that shot. Does your goalie want you blocking shots and getting a hand on that shot like that before it gets to them?
Yeah, so we're supposed to shot block and try and funnel any shots to the goalie. If the shot doesn't have to go to the goalie, it's better that it doesn't. But, I mean, we all trust our goalies to pick it up if we can't get it. So
we talked to Coach, and we mentioned last year 32-3, a very impressive record. But the losses that you had, you didn't score 10 goals. How important is it for you and the rest of the attackers to score that many goals and give your defense some support?
I mean, I definitely think that it's super important for us to be on offensively, but I think we would all agree that it all starts with our defense, with our counters and stuff. We have a very fast team, so hopefully if we play well on defense, we can feed those counters up the pool and just make easy goals, and hopefully that keeps us less tired for the whole game.
You lost a game early last year to Riverside. You saw a lot of Riverside at the end of the year, including in the state championships where you beat them. September 15th is Riverside right here at Fullerton. Is that a big game for you guys to kind of prove to them that you're still at the top of your game?
The beginning of the year games, I mean, we lost our first game to Riverside last year, and I think it'll be definitely a good measuring stick for us. They're a good team, so hopefully that'll give us an idea of where we're at, what we can work on. But I think we're trying to treat it like any other game, not psych ourselves out, and yeah.
Full year off, you're back, you're returning as a state champion. What's the expectation for you in this team?
I'm definitely trying to step up and be a leader. Try and show everyone, what it takes to win a state championship and how hard you have to work. Hopefully I can also improve my own game, work on some offense and stuff like that I was kind of lacking last year. So yeah.
Charlie Jackson, utility player for the women's water polo team here at Fullerton College. Charlie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Special thanks to Tarsus and to Charlie, 2 utility players here on the Fullerton College women's water polo team. So excited to get this season going. This is the Coaches Show, though. And we don't stop just at water polo or football. We're going to send it over right now to the women's volleyball team who are in action this week to kick off their season. So we go from poolside to courtside here at Colleen Riley Court, where we just finished the Fullerton College women's volleyball match between the Hornets and Santa Barbara. Coach Megan Tomicic is with me. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
6-3 now on the year. Tough loss tonight against Santa Barbara. What stands out about this team so far? Only 9 games in, no volleyball at all last year. This is kind of fresh for all these players. What's standing out so far?
Oh man, we have a great group. It's just finding our mindset. We definitely have the physicality. We were just saying in the locker room, we have everything we need, and we have everything what it takes to win something this year. And it's just finding that balance of being smart, volleyball IQ, and just really coming together as a team and loving the adversity, loving the challenge. We had a lot of pressure-like situations, and instead of backing down from that pressure, we need to accept it and overcome it. And that's something that we continue working towards and working on because it's there. We're right there. It's just we still haven't quite clicked on that yet, but we will get there, I have no doubt.
That team showed some of that passion tonight.
Definitely.
We saw it. 5-set match, went right down to the wire. You only lost by a couple points. Was there anything different that happened in that 5th set that you'd like to kind of go back and redo to make a different outcome in that 5th set?
Definitely. One thing that I told them, just in the locker room is it seemed like when we went into this 5th set, we had already lost it. Our energy was a little low. We were kind of hanging our heads after, we were up a lot in the 4th set and they came back and won. And, the first thing that I told them is that's in the past. We can't focus on that. Whoever comes out in this 5th set with more confidence, with more energy, that's who's going to win. And with the 5th set, you never know, and one thing we always try to focus on is first to 5, first to 10, first to 15. So just knowing that now moving forward, when we're challenged with the 5th set, we got to go in with the right mindset and go in and just go for it.
We talked before the match tonight, and you mentioned your offense. And your offense hauled the load tonight. I mean, they were amazing tonight. The thing that stuck out to me, though, your defense, your backline and your liberos played amazingly defense. Which one would you rather have step up? I mean, it looks like both of them kind of did their job, but which one in your mind was the highlight tonight?
Definitely. Gosh, that's a tough question. We're extremely scrappy on defense. Offensively, I think we can do a better job of putting these balls away. We were just talking about first ball side out. I think we do a good job of getting ourselves in system and now just executing that play. Because sometimes, we're going up just to keep the ball in or, just a shot. We need to go up hard every single time and go for it. So for me, just offensively, I think that's kind of where even more so our strength is that we haven't really seen yet. But once again, that's going to come with time. And, having these 2 years off, definitely it's taking more time, and that's the beauty of preseason. That's what I keep telling them. We can't hang our head. We got to keep our head high because we still have 3 months left of season, so a lot of room to grow for sure.
Is there anything you change going forward? Now 6-3, early in the season, from what you've seen so far in these first 9 games, what do you change going forward to like you said, solidify everything on the back end and the front end?
Definitely. A big something that we always talk about is serving. We take a lot of pressure off of ourselves when we're serving aggressive and hitting the right zone because there's always a passer we can serve. Tonight we did a good job of making our serve. A lot of those serves went to their libero, who's their best passer. So when we have a lead and we're not facing this pressure, we're in a really good spot. And whenever we're serving aggressive, that's when we're getting them out of system and they're just giving us free balls. And that's something that we'll continue working on. We definitely got better at serving. Normally we would miss more serves, and tonight we did a really good job of serving aggressive and keeping it in, but we just need to work on that location. And then I would say just continuing just to work on our offense, getting everyone involved. We can't rely on only 2 people to put the ball away. We need to rely on every single one. And it boils down to the hitters also relying on themselves of calling for their set, wanting the ball, and demanding it a little bit more.
That was one of the things that we looked at during the match. A lot of great services from everybody.
Yep.
A lot of people contributed to that. How important is that for you guys defensively to make sure you're hard on them service-wise?
So one thing that we do in practice is our goal is always to create a game-like situation, because if we're not creating a game-like situation in practice, then we come to a game and we can't expect them to make changes in a game. You only make changes and become better at pressure at practice. So for example, one serving drill that we do every single practice is I don't tell them just to go back and serve and just 5 minutes serving. We have to hit zone 1 for 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes I need 4 balls in zone 1, and if we're not able to hit those 4 balls in zone 1, then we have a punishment. So that's allowing them to feel the same pressure that they're feeling on this inline when we say, hey, we need you to hit zone 1. Now they're feeling that same kind of pressure. So that's our goal, is to always create a game-like situation in practice.
Coach, thanks very much for the time.
Thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate you covering women's volleyball. It means a lot to us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Tough loss for the Fullerton College Hornet women's volleyball team as they dropped their match 3-2 to Santa Barbara. There's much more coming up, not only in this show, but shows to come. But for now, let's send it back out to the football field where my co-host Ryan Osborne is with the Fullerton Hornet football team. Ryan?
So we're here with Coach Campbell, Ryan Osborne here on the Coaches Show on 90.1 KBPK. And Coach, week number 1, when you look at Cerritos, one of the big things for them is that they had 6 interceptions against Pasadena City College. How does your offense beat those 6 interceptions?
Well, I think fundamentally we're very different offenses. I think in watching Pasadena's, watching that film, they attack the defense very differently than we do. We make a living off the passing game, and so we're just kind of structured differently to start with. I think they're more of an option team that wants to kind of sprinkle in the pass, and some of that didn't work out so well for them. So we're built a little different than they are that way. So I feel okay going into a game as long as our quarterback's going through the reads and their progressions and understanding where the reads are within the field. We'll be all right.
Coach, some, when looking at your offense to start, would label it as confusing or hard to get. But once you get your offense, it's electric. How do you hammer that home?
Well, it's very conceptual. So we're teaching concepts as opposed to plays, and so then eventually we can mix and match the concepts, and it's kind of having like a bunch of Legos, right? You can pick and choose pieces to build different things each time, and that's kind of what the offense is about. So we might have a running play going on and a passing play at the same time. We might be blocking on the perimeter and have the running play going. We might be blocking the front with the linemen and still have the passing routes going on the outside. There's a number of different things we can do. So we kind of mix and match a lot of it. So it's a matter of our guys getting to understand the concepts, and once they understand that, we as coaches can kind of put piece things together the way we want to attack a defense.
Speaking of concepts, a few years back, 2016, when Jordan Hoy was here, you talked to me and you said, Jordan, when he would go up to the line of scrimmage, had a base set of plays at minimum. When he walked up, wherever the linebacker was, that's what told him where it was going to go. Is that something that you have a similarity in this year?
Yeah, so whether it's a linebacker, whether it's a safety, whether it's a defensive lineman, that'll tell us kind of what play we want to get into. Okay. So our quarterbacks are responsible for that. We put a lot of pressure on them to make sure that they're doing that. Sometimes it's pre-snap, sometimes it's right after the ball snap, post-snap. But there's a lot of pressure on the quarterback to kind of put us in the right situation, either pre-snap or post-snap. And that's tough. It is really tough. So it was tough with Jordan, but he learned it all and worked out pretty well. It was tough for Kane and Johnny and Ladarius, and worked out pretty well. And then it was tough for Gresh and Quinn, and that kind of worked out pretty well. So, it's just a matter of the learning curve of it all. And once they figure it all out, then it's pretty good.
When you're talking about concepts, the running back, knowing that there's a base set of plays coming up or a concept that he has to walk up to the line of scrimmage with, how does a running back in your system prepare himself to know that this could be a run or a pass just based on where the linebacker or the defensive end is sitting?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the way we do things, because of the flexibility that we have at all the other, basically 9 other positions, with the quarterback being the 10th as far as kind of making sure the ball's going to the right place, the running back is the guy that kind of has to be very nimble. very flexible, very understanding of what else is going on around them. So if they're playing a cover 2 shell, we're going to run the ball. If they're rolling down and playing 6, 7, 8 in the box, then we might have to throw the ball. So it's going to depend. But yeah, he starts to learn over time. He starts to see the patterns that develop, that if it is too high safety, that he's probably going to get the ball and keep running. And if it's not, then he's probably a play action guy, and then we're probably popping out for a RPO or something like that.
When you talk about that, a lot of times in a college system, you'll have coaches who say, oh, well, it's just our quarterback who has to read the defense. Is that something in what you're talking about, where the running back and the quarterback both have to go up there?
In our system, it's the quarterback, but then the running back, and then also the receiver or receivers, depending on the play, have to read the defense. So I think at every time, even the offensive line have to read who are they working to, who are they going to, who are they protecting, or who are they blocking. Everybody has to read somebody. You hear about the quarterback only because he's the guy with the ball in his hands, but really he's so dependent on everybody else making the right decisions as well. So it makes it tricky.
When you look at this upcoming game against Cerritos, we mentioned it last week, where it was a shootout the last time that you played them. When you look at it this week, knowing that they have a lot of sophomores on their defense, do you expect that same type of game going into Falcon Stadium?
I don't know what it's going to be. I know that it's going to be a game where you have two teams that are eager to hit, eager to run, eager to get after each other. I think we have a mutual respect. I know Dean Grossfeld, their head coach over there, and I are pretty good friends. We have a very good kind of colleague relationship, we'll say. He's got a lot of respect for our program, and we have a lot of respect for his program. At the end of the day, and him and I have talked about this a number of times, at the end of the day, it almost sometimes, whoever wins or loses, it is what it is, but you both walk out of there just bloody and battered, man. It's going to be a violent football game. And that's what happens when you get Fullerton and Cerritos together. You're not playing a team that is less, more passive. You're playing a team that's going to bring it, and then we're going to punch them in the mouth, and they're going to punch us in the mouth, constantly throughout the whole game. And that's what you get when the two of us get together.
Coach, football on Saturday. Best of luck.
Oh my gosh, it's about time. Thank you.
Thank you. Back here at House Scherbeck Field, Fullerton College has a game coming up this Saturday against Cerritos College. This will be week 1 that Fullerton gets to go out and have that competition once again. But you already heard from Coach Garrett Campbell on what he's looking forward to this Saturday. Let's take a look at the rest of the state of California and how the rankings played out this last weekend. So this is the rankings recap here on 90.1 KBPK, and we start things off with what the preseason rankings were in the CCCAA. In the state of California, again, it's tough to judge which teams are coming into 2021 as one of the best teams in the state. You have that break year that kind of lengthens what you were able to do in terms of predictions. You go back to 2019, yeah, you can see the results there and kind of predict from there, but it's pretty tough because you don't really know what each team looks like. So, 2021 preseason, the coaches and the media were able to take a look at the players and the staffs overall, and they came up with a preseason ranking which started off with College of San Mateo, who gets the number 1 ranking in the preseason. They had 2 first-place votes, 12-1 record in 2019, 217 points overall. Now, Riverside City College slots in at number 2. They were 13-0, 214 points in this poll. Just 3 points separating both of those two teams in the top 2 of the rankings. If those two teams are kind of familiar to you here on 90.1 KBPK, it's because we were following along with the state championships and how they progressed throughout the rest of the season after Fullerton was done with their regular season. College of San Mateo, Riverside City College, both of them get into the Final Four in the state of California, and not only the Final Four, they would both end up in the championship game. College of San Mateo and Riverside City College, both of each other facing one another in Bakersfield, and Riverside City College took home a 10-point win, 31-21, to take home the 2019 CCCAA championship. So Riverside City College beat San Mateo in Bakersfield. They ended up finishing that season number 1 in the rankings in the state of California, top 5 in the national rankings, but they flip when you look at this preseason poll. Riverside City at number 2, College of San Mateo at number 1. Ventura got a first place vote. They slide in at number 3 with 183 points overall. Modesto right behind them also with a first place vote. And Modesto, when you look at 2019, the way that they ended their season, their final 6 games, they looked really good in terms of beating top 10 opponents, top 20 opponents as well. They did have those 3 losses, but they had big-time wins over top 15 opponents in their schedule. So they come in at number 4 with City College of San Francisco right behind them at number 5. Fullerton at 5-5 finished their season. They go into the number 6 spot in the Southern California, the overall rankings, not just Southern California, but the overall 2021 preseason rankings. Again, for Hornet fans, not where they'd like to be. They want to have a chance at being in that number 1 spot and competing for the state championship. Right behind Fullerton was their 2016 championship opponent in American River, joined by Mount Sac, College of the Canyons, and Butte as well. So that rounds out the top 10 in the state of California. That's preseason. When we look at the first 2 weeks of the season, specifically this last weekend, we have a couple of finals that we're able to get to. You start off with the number 1 team in the state of California in San Mateo. San Mateo, well, they took it to Santa Rosa. 45-5, a final there, as San Mateo scored 21 points before Santa Rosa was able to even get on the board. By the time there was about 12 minutes left in the second quarter, San Mateo was already healthily in front by a score of 21-0, and they would cruise from there and make it a 45-5 victory. Right behind them was Riverside City College. We mentioned it earlier, the number 2 team in the poll. Riverside City College finishes their game against Mount San Jacinto, well, 1-0. Why is that? Because Mount San Jacinto ends up having to forfeit to Riverside City College, so there was no game played between either of those 2 teams, and Riverside City College gets an automatic win in their standings to go to 1-0. So, San Mateo able to start their season. On the other side, Riverside City College not able to start theirs. You look at the number 3 team, Ventura College at 62-5 over top of Moore Park. Now, we were talking about San Mateo just a few moments ago getting 21 on the board before Santa Rosa was able to get a reply at all. Well, Ventura had 21 on the board before 6 minutes had elapsed in the game. They were cruising against Moore Park, as Moore Park was only able to put up 3 points in their first 3 quarters combined and 5 points overall. They had a safety in the fourth quarter, but other than that, it was all Ventura, and Ventura as they take a 62-5 win over top of Moore Park, and they move to 1-0 this year. So the top 3 in the state of California, San Mateo 2-0, Riverside City College 1-0, and then you have Ventura, who sits at a 1-0 record as well. To round out some of the other top 10 teams who were in battle on Saturday, American River 31-13 over Sacramento City College in a big-time Sacramento rivalry there. American River continues their streak over Sacramento City. Butte taking on College of the Sequoias. That came down to an exciting end, as Sequoias looked like they were about to take an upset over top of Butte. As with 1 minute and 33 seconds left on the clock, Sequoias got a 6-yard touchdown pass, Bryson Allen from Nathan Lamb, to make it 21-17. But on the ensuing kickoff, DJ Jackson takes it 89 yards to the house, and Butte is able to take a win over top of Sequoias. They are just able to take down College of the Sequoias 24-21. So, oh so close, a scare there for Butte, but they were able to get a victory. San Francisco, who is a top 5 team going into the preseason, 66-14 over top of Sierra. They are able to get a win there. So, City College of San Francisco, looking good. We look at how the rankings end up shaking out in the state of California going into this next week. Week number 2, technically. San Mateo, what was initially listed on their overall score webpage as a 2-0 record is actually a 1-0 record, as San Mateo with 4 first-place votes, 220 points to Riverside City College, 3. They end up both 1-0, 1 playing, 1 forfeit, and that point scale kind of lengthens a little bit. It goes from 3 points up to 8. Ventura College gets another first-place vote. They now have 2, 199 points to their total. Modesto is right behind them at number 4. So the top 4 stay the same. City College of San Francisco stays at number 5 as well. But here's where things get interesting. Because American River and College of the Canyons were able to play this last Saturday, they slot in at number 6 and number 7 now. And Fullerton drops down from 6 all the way down to 8. So a little bit of a shakeup towards the back half of that top 10, mainly just because of that forfeit and Fullerton not having an opportunity to play in week number 1. So American River beats Sacramento City. They move up. College of the Canyons, who will play Fullerton later on this season in about 2 weeks if memory serves, they move up to number 7. Fullerton drops from 6 down to 8. Mount San Antonio, Mount Sac, they stay towards the bottom half of the top 10. And Fresno City goes to 1-0 as well. So nothing really shaken up all too dramatically there. The top 10 pretty much staying the same, with the exception of Butte, who drops out to number 11. So that's going to do it for our rankings recap here on the Coaches Show on 90.1 KBPK. Don't forget, we want to remind you, tune in on Saturday as Fullerton College gets set to take on Cerritos at 6 p.m. On the call, Mark Pavlovich and Corey Nalen. As always, the voices of Fullerton College football on SportsNetUSA.net, our sister station right here on 90.1 KBPK. We want to thank Ray Baker, Gabriel Martinez, Coach Tomacic as well for joining us all here on the Coaches Show. So for my co-host, Ray Baker, I'm Ryan Osborne, thanking you for joining us. You've been watching the Coaches Show on 90.1 KBPK.